Hey, everybody, welcome to Calls the podcast. Matt, you know what I want to talk
Ty?
to you about today?
I don't know. House pause? I don't know. What do you want to talk about today?
So, did you know that people who mispronounce things a lot, that is a sign that they read a lot? So,
Okay.
like, if I'm talking about Harry Potter and I say Hermione, that means I've never heard somebody say Hermione. So,
Okay.
people who mispronounce things means they read a lot. So, you should not make fun of people who mispronounce things.
Okay. That's great. I won't.
So, I think we need to talk about the legend of Robin Hood and tax day because I've noticed something.
Okay. I'm sure you have. All right.
And
I'm pretty sure
as
I've
I
pronounced
said
Robin
that,
Hood. Okay.
yeah, but as I said that, you got a little bit nervous. But remember, I think that some of my theories, we need to start bringing them up. I pulled up my little man's disease theory. I thought it went over well.
It did?
We went a middle ground. It was fine. So don't get too
Yep.
nervous, right?
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So
That's the way it usually goes with you. So, yeah.
here's where it is. So Robin Hood in modern age, the quote, the thing that he's linked to is rob from the rich and give to the poor, right?
Steal from the rich, give to the poor. Yep.
That's total propaganda. That is not the story that happened at all. And this
Did
is
not
the
know that.
problem with propaganda. So the story is that King Richard the Lionheart was a great monarch, a kind-hearted person, and if you ask the founding fathers, they would say the best type of government is a benevolent dictator. The problem with a benevolent dictator is whoever he passes off to might not be so benevolent. They might be kind of authoritarian. So he went to fight the Crusades, and Prince John took over. Prince John was not a nice guy, and I'm not sure if it was his son or his brother. I think it was his brother, kind of like a Mufasa Scar type of thing,
So,
right?
wait, Prince John was Robin Hood's brother.
No, was King Richard the
All right.
Lionheart's brother.
Okay. Okay. Just trying to
So
keep up.
the good king, kind of like Mufasa, and then the evil king, kind of like Scar. Okay,
Okay. Gotcha. Yep. Yep.
are you following me? Okay.
I'm just
So
saying I am. Yep.
what did Prince John do? He started taking the people's money. That's what the sheriff of Nottingham was doing. He was basically taking the people's money. So Robin Hood comes into the picture. He comes back from fighting in the Crusades. He comes back from the picture, and he is not robbing the rich. He's robbing the government. He's robbing the government authority because they are overusing their authority, taking the people's money. Okay, and he is robbing the government to give the people back their money, right? His sidekick is Little John, who's just a big guy. Friar Tuck represents the church, being on the side of the people. Okay, does
Yeah.
this all make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, no, okay, this is coming at me pretty hard. Okay, this is a lot I have to deal with
I know
now.
it's a lot. It's a lot.
Okay.
So we just had tax day,
Yes, we
okay,
did.
and a lot of times we hear this thing from both sides: tax the billionaires, right?
Yep.
But then when they get down to the details, they're really always talking about taxing anybody who makes $200,000 a year, which is not at all a billionaire. Like all of our property taxes just went up. So this whole idea of it's heroic to tax the rich doesn't really turn out being what we say. So there's like 565 billionaires in the United States right now. That's not very many billionaires. And not one of them is Batman, which I'm not quite sure why none of them have used their money to become Batman.
You don't know
And
that.
well,
You
it
don't know
doesn't
that.
appear to.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So my point is when everybody is running around kind of worried about the government being too authoritarian or saying no kings, isn't maybe the first step to be taxes are too high? Like if you study history, that's the first thing authoritarian regimes do is they go after your money, they go after your property. So all I'm saying is we need to pay taxes. We need to have all the things that the government gives us. But once it starts getting like where your dentist is paying 50% of his money in taxes, or the guy who owns his plumbing company is paying 50% of his money in taxes, that just doesn't seem right. So maybe we need to just be a little bit nicer about taxes, because I think everybody would get along a little bit better if we weren't yelling propaganda thinking that you're a hero for trying to tax the rich. So Thomas Sowell, the economist, says, why is it greedy to want to keep your own money, but it's not greedy to want to take somebody else's money? So in the world today, if we just said, hey, we need to raise taxes for this purpose, but then it's going to go back down 5 years later. Hey, we're never going to go above 35% of somebody's money, just something reasonable. Like, everybody wants to give and help, and we all depend on services that we all need, but we could drop the tone a little bit. And the one thing I do notice a little bit is sometimes people have a tendency to say that, money doesn't bring happiness, but it does decrease stress to have financial stability.
Sure.
I understand that Superman never made any money saving the world from Solomon Grundy. He did it out of the kindness of his heart. I
No,
understand that.
no, he
But
did. No, he got his money from working at that newspaper.
yeah, but he had a middle class job. Like, he could have been a
All right.
billionaire like Batman, but he chose not to. He had a more of
Okay.
a Mother Teresa thing to him.
All right.
But this is where I think it does matter, is in life. I am seeing a lot of patients who are leaving the state of Maryland to either move to Delaware or Florida, and they tend to keep their Maryland doctors, so they fly back for their doctor's appointments to see their family, that kind of thing. And it always makes me think that these are grandparents mostly who have been taken away from their grandchildren. So they're not there. They're there to go to the championship game, but they're not there for every game. They might be there for the school play, but they're not there to help pick up carpool every day. And that's where the moments of life are made, is being with your family in those situations.
Yep.
So I just think that, like, every time we're like, oh, we'll just raise property taxes, or oh, we'll just raise taxes on the billionaires, it just never ends up being that way. It's so I just think people need to be careful about it. And then here's where I'm really going out on a limb, and you'll probably edit this part. Are you
Yes.
ready?
Dude, I
You
haven't
want to
said
edit
anything in
this whole
seven
thing out,
minutes.
'cause I got more to go.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Wait,
So
can I just say, for people at home, you and I, it's like 10:15 at 8:30. We're like, hey, I was working out, you were working out. It's like, hey, should we just hop on and do this thing later? We're like, yeah, okay, great. Oh my God, you have a diatribe ready to go. You always have one in the cannon, and I'm just sitting there going, yep, okay, great. So, all right,
well,
keep going. I just wanted people at
can
home
we
to know
get
that
back
I don't
to
prepare the way you do.
yes, can we get back to that point? Because that's another
Yes.
point that we got to get into. I got
Okay.
3 points I want to make
All right.
that are all theories out on a limb here.
Okay.
So we just had Easter, and we get into the whole, but Jesus hung out with tax collectors. And in a democracy, the tax collector is not meaning, oh, the person who works for the IRS. Anybody who votes for higher taxes is kind of a tax collector in a democracy. So my point would be, yes, he hung out with tax collectors, but they stopped collecting taxes. Like, they weren't collecting taxes for the Roman government. And I also understand that I'm coming from two sides of the coin, because he also said, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. So all I'm saying is, let's tone down on the yelling about taxes and how much other people are making, because it's a big deal. Like, if your tax rate is 50%, that's money that you can't invest into your podcast to help the world. That's
That's
money
right.
that we can't invest into our snowball stand
Nope.
when we try to take our snowball stand national. That's
Yep.
why we don't have swag to give our guests. It's just some things to think about. Is I think if we could drop our tax rate down significantly, you and I could really help the world.
Then I'm on board. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a strong platform to we really can do something with that. Okay. To help the world
Okay.
lower
Second thing
taxes.
is, back to your thing about how you weren't prepared for such a deep dive,
Yes.
right? I think we're getting a lot of comments where we are being compared to the Beatles. Would you say
Yes.
that's fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Or mostly to Paul and John?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. There's a
Because
little Ringo to you,
like
but okay.
like
Yep.
yeah, but like then we grew up together, and now we're doing something creative. I'm not saying we're the Beatles in Shea Stadium. We're the Beatles in high school, like playing bars in Liverpool.
Okay. All right. I like that. Okay. Yep. That was all you
And
had?
if you know about the Beatles, no, the thing that we got to be very careful about is the
Yoko?
Beatles went their separate ways, really not because of Yoko. It was really because of creative differences.
Okay. All right.
So our one creative difference is I send you a list of things that I've been thinking about like a week ago, and we
Yep.
can't get scheduled. And then when we hit record, I start telling you what I was thinking about that this morning. And then you're just saying yes, 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 because you haven't had time to process this. So we need to
True.
decide, do you like to be stunned where you think I'm
Oh,
coming
I
in
do.
talking about why Clubber Lang was better than Drago, and then all of a sudden I'm
Absolutely.
talking about
A-
Robin Hood? Like, do you enjoy
absolutely.
that, or
No,
does that
yeah.
make you feel awkward?
No, no, no. You always make me feel awkward, but that's different. But no, I kind of like being ready off the cuff, come in loose,
Okay.
unprepared. I kind of like I like not knowing what's going to hit me. I like thinking, it's a beautiful Saturday morning. I thought, I'm in South Carolina. You're there. I thought we're going to have this little talk, and next thing you know, it somehow went to Kevin Costner movies, all the way. I mean, all the way up to the Last Temptation of Christ. I don't know what that was, but anyhow, go ahead.
So, so I was not thinking Kevin Costner. I was more thinking the little fox in the Disney one.
Of
That one,
course,
that
of
cool
course.
fox who played
Do we
Robin
have to
Hood in the
play like the
Disney
Brian
movie.
Adams like song in the background through this whole thing? Now you're
No,
talking Robin Hood. Okay,
I was thinking of Mac Davis, Robin Hood and Little John walking through the forest,
that's
talking
good.
back and forth about what the
For
other had to say.
all
So
right.
where was I? So our other creative difference was, and this really came out when we were interviewing Andrew Bing, right? So you came in, I think, with a better understanding of what Andrew did. So I was like kind of thinking as we were going because I thought it was an amazing story. I
Yep.
loved his
Oh
story.
yeah.
Right.
Yep.
My one thing that I started thinking about was we live in Maryland, which is very much kind of like a niche for lacrosse. It's a lacrosse state, right?
Okay. Yep.
Lacrosse and
Still.
jousting's our national sport. So
Right.
jousting and lacrosse, it's a lacrosse state. And I was thinking about Andrew, like he was player of the decade for his college, right? Now, if you're on a lacrosse team and your coach was on the world team or something like that, player of the decade, whatever, everybody knows that. And everybody's like, "Oh my God, so and so's our coach. What? Oh, this is so cool. So and so's our coach." I'm like, in Maryland, it must be a little bit weird for Andrew to be sitting there hearing about all these amazing lacrosse players where nobody knows that he was player of the decade for his college. And I would have liked to have dived into the psychology of staying humble. Does he ever want to say, "Hey, I was pretty good at soccer"? And you
But
made a joke. You were like, "But did anybody play soccer back then?" Everybody played soccer. Like,
I know.
is there any kid who has played sports who didn't start playing soccer? Like, everybody's played soccer. So if you're the player of the decade for your soccer college soccer team, that's a pretty big
Oh
deal because
yeah.
so many people play soccer.
Yeah.
Whereas back then, lacrosse was very much kind of Long Island,
Maryland.
Maryland,
Yeah.
Baltimore, Annapolis, a little bit of Philly. Like it wasn't like as much of a
Right.
national game now. So we
Okay.
kind of you made that joke, but my point was you have a tendency to fatigue at 55 minutes. And you're like, "Oh, 55 minutes. It's time for me to take my bath." When sometimes I'm just getting started. So
Yeah.
what do we do with that?
So if
I
you learn to
realize you're
shut
the
up,
editor.
if I mean, I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? If you learned to ask questions to engage, I wouldn't just be sitting there having to go, yeah, yeah. And then we pop in a little smart ass comment. And then, then I have to sit there and go, And then I'm like, all right, dude, it's been 55 minutes. This is painful. So if there's more give and take, then I'm more engaged.
Okay. I think people loved that one though, and I think other people
Why
were
wouldn't
probably
they?
thinking that question, right? And maybe we do a segment where we text because sometimes you wake up the next day and have a question that you didn't think of live. Is this something that maybe we do follow-ups where we send them a question, they send us back an answer, and then we present it at the next podcast?
We can try it. I mean, I don't think there's any rules. We make the rules. We
Okay.
are the rules. So
Okay.
yeah, why don't we give that a shot? Um, to your comment, if you're in the soccer world, if you're in the lacrosse world, and you're as you use, the coach is your world team or whatever, that, right? The guy playing lacrosse who's focused on lacrosse may not know the soccer guy. I think that's the only disconnect. So
Yeah.
if I'm a big time soccer player and I know everything that's going on with all these colleges, hey, there's so many colleges, more colleges play soccer than lacrosse throughout the country. There's probably a better chance that the soccer community knows about it than the lacrosse community knows about the soccer guy, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So my other controversial thing, which is not scary controversial, is just bring it up. It's just an opinion I have. We've had a lot of lacrosse guests on, and we've talked about the 80s lacrosse versus modern lacrosse, and we mentioned lacrosse has spread. I have a curiosity putting out there. Leave your take in the comments. I think in general more people are playing lacrosse, so obviously lacrosse players are better now than when you and I were growing up. But I have a theory that the best of the best, so the Mount Rushmores of lacrosse, so I'm talking about the best of the best in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, might actually be equal or better than the best of the best now. And here's why I'm saying this is because I think back then those people stayed in lacrosse and kept playing lacrosse. And I think now those people would have been driven into high level football, high level AAU basketball. And that's why I think that these superstars, I'm talking about the 4-time first team All Americans, the 3-time first team All Americans, the people you would consider on Mount Rushmore might be equally or even better than the best of the best now, because I think some of those people would not be playing lacrosse now. They would have been, playing high level
Wait,
sports. A perfect example.
some of the '70s, '80s, and '90s players would be playing other sports. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think some of those
So,
people, when they were dominating in middle
right.
school, they would have been pulled out to an AAU top level basketball team because there's a lot of money in basketball.
I disagree. I disagree because I think those guys. So I mean, you can't compare, but right, the '70s, '80s, and '90s, those guys played a bunch of different sports. Those guys and women all played a lot of different sports, right? And they found which one they liked the best. Today, you can play one sport year round. So you might be, they might try to pull you into something else, but if lacrosse is your love, you're not moving. So I don't really buy that theory of yours. So try again.
So I love the back and forth. My thought was I think some of those guys might have been a John Stockton in basketball or a Julian Edelman in football, but like I don't think like some of them would have even been found for football. Now it's so nationwide that I think you'd have more Pat Spencers of the world. And Pat Spencer, who was a superstar lacrosse player at Loyola College, is now playing for the Golden State Warriors. For those who don't know, he played 4 years Loyola lacrosse, did a post grad year in the Big Ten to play basketball, and now is playing for the Golden State Warriors. Very unique situation because he was very small when he started high school, so he's a late bloomer. So nobody was going to see him basketball wise.
Right.
I think there'd be a. I think that earlier generation there was a lot of Pat Spencers who just got in lacrosse. They were from Maryland, they were from Long Island, and they just did that. And I'm not talking about maybe the honorable mention All Americans. I'm talking about the elite superstars that maybe they would have gotten more opportunity at the high revenue sports. That's all I'm saying. And I obviously there's no answer. Nobody's going to know the answer. Reasonable people can disagree. I think it's an interesting conversation. Then you have to get into who's your top 10, who's your Mount Rushmore, what sport would they play? Like some of them would play ice hockey. Like would have the Gate brothers have played ice hockey if there was modern day money in ice hockey? Like would so and so have stuck with basketball? That kind of thing. Would so and so have gone for football instead of lacrosse? That kind of thing.
Okay. But I think it really comes down to, I mean, it's apples and oranges, right? I don't think you could compare it, but you have to take a lot of leaps of faith and say, what if? But
Okay.
I'm with you.
Um, I got one more controversial theory,
Okay.
and I'm wondering, have you ever thought this? Okay. Unfortunately, one of the things that Peter Smith loves about our podcast is we never talk about politics,
Yep.
which
Yep.
is not actually true because sometimes we use sports or medicine to talk about politics, right? So
Okay.
I want to talk about leaders. I want to talk about leadership
Oh, boy. All right. Here we go.
or our perception of leadership, right?
Okay.
When you look at all the presidents since we have been able to vote,
Okay.
right? and I'm not saying that you believe this, I'm saying that has it ever crossed your mind? Has it ever crossed your mind for each and every one of them that you could have done a better job?
No,
You've
no,
never ever been like, I could do better than that guy.
no. It's something I've never thought about. I'm just being dead honest with you. I've never thought about it. Never. No, no. Politics have
Okay.
never really, interested me to that level that I thought I could do better or want to get involved.
If they haven't interested you, why did you get so mad at me when I mentioned I might vote for Ross Perot? Like, you didn't
Well,
talk
because
to
you're an
me for like
idiot.
2 weeks.
Yeah, because you were an idiot. But but
I
but
literally think that's the reason you have no hair now. Is the stress that I
that was the
caused
one.
you.
Yeah,
Okay. Well,
but yeah, but I never. Yeah.
I hope you won't think less of me. But back before I was a rehabilitated political junkie, it did cross my mind that I thought I could have at one point done better than each and every president since I've been a legal voting age. And I tend to think of intelligence as kind of book smarts, street smarts, and emotional intelligence. So
Okay.
I think that some of them I thought that I was had more book smarts. Some of them I thought I had more street smarts. Not meaning they didn't have street smarts, but their streets were limited, and maybe I had a broader amount of streets. And then some of them I thought I had emotional intelligence. And then other times I didn't think I was smarter than them. But my
Okay.
point is, it has crossed my mind, and I think it crosses a lot of people's minds that they could do better than the current leadership. Now, here's where I'm going to compare it. If I look at the top NFL football coaches, so let's just say, for instance, let's say John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin, Bill Belichick, and Andy Reid.
Okay.
Not once have I ever thought that I could do better than them. There is no way that I could manage an NFL team in practice or on the field better than those four coaches.
Okay.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So that makes me think, this is my true feeling, that some of the best people in our world, not necessarily NFL coaches, but people we know, would do better than our current leadership. So I truly believe that the top level NFL coaches would be better leaders than what we've had the last 25 years. That's just my take. My take is that I think I would put Belichick, Harbaugh, Tomlin, and Reed in charge over the people we've had in charge.
Okay. If you think that works, let's give it a shot. I think if you win the Super Bowl, you automatically you don't even have to go through the primaries or anything. You're on the final ballot. I think that's fair. If you're coach of the year, how about that?
Well, when I'm saying that, I'm more saying that if they had been brought up in that world, I'm kind of saying the best of the best, our best, are not going into that world, and I feel like we see it every day. I think we all know people in our lives that are better than anybody we've had the last 25
But
years.
why do so? But it really goes back to why do you think these people get into that role? Right? And is it truly because they think they can help, or is it like you? They think they're smarter than everybody else, and they have these egos that they want to get out there. And I think that's more the case than anything else. And finally, my only other comment about your most recent rant. Let's talk about your street smarts of Wine Spring Lane and Little John Hill and other shots. Talk about the
Well,
streets.
actually, I am going to talk about the streets. So I don't have street smarts from growing up. My street smarts are, I basically talk to about 30 people a day in my
No, you
job from
absolutely
all
do.
different backgrounds. So
Absolutely. No, I
so
think
I might be
I think that's
treating
very fair. Yes, that's all.
so I might be treating the prisoner and the police officer. Like I
Yep.
have
No.
I treat police officers who get hurt at work all the time. I treat prisoners. I treat CEOs. I treat the janitor. I treat the person cleaning up
Yeah.
the
No,
street.
no, you
You see
definitely do. Your
such a
your
wide
practice, yeah, your
variety of
practice,
people.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so
So
that's
sometimes
so
I think I see when political policies really hurt people, and I see when political policies help people, and
yeah,
sometimes I see it
yeah,
in the same way where a certain policy helped this patient and really crushed this patient.
yeah.
And
No, you're
that's
front
why I
line.
brought up yeah, that's why I
No,
brought
you
up the
are.
property tax thing, is that it saddens me when I hear another person leaving for Florida or leaving to Delaware.
Yeah.
And I
No,
know
and
that Florida has no state income tax, but I don't know what Delaware's tax situation is. Why it's so much better than Maryland? But it's what?
I think it's the
Okay.
same. No state income tax, I
Okay.
believe. I
Yeah.
could be wrong on that,
So, and
actually.
partly is also is how do you you don't want to live in a world where this is bringing you down all the time. So like that's the big thing is moving on is like not letting it get to you too much because I know people who that basically you go out with them socially and all they're going to talk about is property taxes and you don't want to
Yeah,
be that person either. So that's
no,
where I was like you want to feel like you're helping the country by paying your taxes and
your
maybe
share. Yeah.
toning down the rhetoric would make it feel like it was more like a little bit like the feeling you get when giving to charity and that kind of thing
We're
like
all in it together, right? So we all got to do our
yeah.
part, and no one loves it. And until something changes, it is what it is.
Yeah, and that gets into to the whole fraud thing is like, everybody wants to eliminate fraud, so like let's not get too crazy when people want to eliminate fraud. Let's be a little bit nicer. Realize like yelling tax the billionaires, you're not really gonna tax the billionaires. You're really just
Right.
taxing, like I said, your dentist or your plumber.
Yeah, that's who guy gets hurt. Yep. No, Ty, these are all great points, and these are all great platforms for you to dominate and rule the world, either as a head coach or a president. You have my support
So
in both.
when I woke up and was thinking about Robinhood, and you're making it sound like I didn't work out, I already worked out too. What were you thinking about? Like I worked out. I hopped in my $250 steamer from Costco to get a good sweat after my workout, and I was like, "What am I going to talk to Matt about?" And I just started thinking about Robinhood, and that's how my brain works. I was like,
I know.
Robinhood, steal from the rich, give to the poor, and I was like, wait a minute, he didn't do that. He stole from the government because the government was stealing from the people. What were you thinking about?
I was
Do you have
thinking
no
about,
internal dialogue?
I have very little to that degree. It was more about, okay, I want to do this. I got to do that. I'd like to hit some golf balls later. Yeah, it was more about this planning out my day.
I do want to follow up on the golf ball thing.
Okay.
Um, to become a member at Augusta National,
Hmm.
is it totally based on your kind of like your career, your success, or is part of it based on your handicap? Like, can you be a super successful CEO and not be good at golf, or can I assume that every member has at least a pretty good handicap?
It's more the latter, my understanding. But the big thing is you can't ask, right? You can't go to Peyton Manning and say, "Hey, can you put me up for membership?" That's the deal breaker.
So Condoleezza Rice is a good golfer.
Yeah, yeah, she's a handicap.
Do you know how good you have to be?
I don't think you have to be scratch or anything like that or winning things, but I think you have to have a general understanding and love of the game and things of that nature. So I mean, it's not like they're hurting for members.
So if this podcast takes off
Hmm.
and Andy Reid and John Harbaugh are president and vice president of the United States, and we're the ones to thank, and all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, do you guys want to join Augusta National?" Do I have to become a better golfer, or would just our billions of dollars we make from the podcast be enough?
I think that your love of the game would be enough. Your love of the game.
So you don't have to have a certain handicap.
No, no, but they're not going to waste that invitation on somebody who doesn't like golf or is a hack, and you know. But I'm
Okay.
afraid to say anything. I'm afraid to say anything about Augusta
Okay.
because if I'm up for membership and I don't know it, I don't want to jinx it. So if there's something going on in the background, I just don't want to say anything to get myself thrown out. That's all.
Okay, that's so funny because that was my next question. I was going to ask, are you a member of Augusta?
I can't confirm nor deny that.
Okay. Okay. Just if you hear whispers, I'd be. I just need 2 or 3 lessons, and I'd be fine.
Oh
I'd be
yeah, you're not
fine.
far off.
So
You're not far off.
I do have a repetitive joke. Is there's a local pro am tournament, and I know the director, and
Okay.
it's that the amateurs like to be in the tournament. They like to qualify, play with the pros. It's a real fun thing. There's more people working the tournament than probably watching the tournament. It's a moms and dads watch kind of thing. But every year, and he hasn't picked it up. Every year, I am standing next to the director, and I say, "This looks like fun. I think I'm going to play next year." And he's like, "Oh, you got to qualify." And I'm like, I know. I mean, I can do that. I just need a lesson or two." And every year he's like, "It takes a lot more than 2 lessons." Literally, it's been 25 years in a
Yeah.
row, and he's never picked up that for 25 straight years I've said I'm going to play next year. I just need 1 or 2 lessons.
I know. I enjoy that one. That's my favorite part of that whole day.
My, all right. So what else do you got? See,
What else I got?
it's the
Nothing.
it's the
It's a
dead
gorgeous
air is why
day.
I have to. It's the dead
What?
air is why I have to come in like blazing every time.
I know, but that's what editing's for. It's a lot going on, and gorgeous Saturday, so I want to get outside and start doing some stuff.
And then, have you ever wondered why doctors are always late?
Nope.
We'll talk about that next time. That'll be in Inside Medical Minutes is doctors being
Ooh.
late.
Oh my God. All right. The anticipation. I can't wait. Love it. Good work, buddy. Good
And
seeing you.
you're going to love it because I'm gonna tie it into NFL meetings with coaches.
You're the best. You're the best. You're my own Adam Schifter at NFL Insider Tie House. I love it.
You want to know the story?
No, we got to wait for next time.
Okay, we can save it for next time.
Yeah, save it for next time. I mean, that's what the people want.